Welcome to the Nitty Gritty of Real Estate podcast. Today we're going to be discussing home price appreciation. Let's get to it. All right, so Matt, we've had quite a big change over the past year in home prices. Mm-hmm. What has that looked like in our market here in Tucson?
Well, it's just been nuts. It really has been nuts. There's agents all over the country, really, just talking about the appreciation. And locally, we've seen homes that were, for instance, $250,000 last year that are now in the threes, which is crazy. And if we elevate ourselves up from Tucson and look at Arizona as a state first, we're like fifth highest in appreciation across the nation, which is bizarre. From Q1 last year to Q1 of this year, we were at nearly 18% appreciation just in the state of Arizona, which is nuts. Think about that. That's 18% appreciation in 1 year. Like average, I was gonna say 4 to 5.
Okay.
18% in 1 year. Bananas.
That's crazy. I mean, that's awesome for sellers.
Yep.
Okay. Buyers, though? I mean, if I'm a buyer, I'm going to be a little scared.
Yeah, you are. And a lot of buyers are stating they don't want to overpay for a home. And they know or can look back through the records and say, well, this house that's for sale for $350 now was only bought a couple of years ago for $250. It can't be that crazy. You know what I mean? So they're looking at the numbers and realizing that home prices have rapidly gone up. Mm-hmm. I think what we have to do for buyers is say, well, listen, yes, the home prices have gone up, but also your interest rates have come down, which means your purchase power is still pretty good. Okay. If we were at the high interest rate, I say high, they weren't high a year ago, they were at 4.5%. Mm-hmm. That's not high compared to, 1985 where they're like 19%. Right. But 4.5% interest rate on a $350,000 home would have put them out of their price point. Mm-hmm. A 3% interest rate at $350,000 home is probably still in their budget. So yes, home prices have gone up, but that lower interest rate has still allowed them to be in that spread. Does that make sense? Yeah,
no, that makes sense. So the interest rate being lower is helping them to still be able to purchase something.
Yeah, but that's not going to hang around forever. The government can't keep giving free money away, basically. They did this last year to entice people to buy, to keep us economically strong through COVID. But that can't always end. They can't just keep giving free money away. I believe once we start to see more sellers coming on the market, they're going to start to bring that rate back up again to offset the balance. You can't flood the market with properties and keep an interest rate at 3%. It's going to be crazy.
Okay, so yeah, I mean that makes sense. And you're talking about seeing more things come on the market. Are we seeing that, or is that like I keep hearing people say like, oh, the market's going to crash? That's not what you're.
It's not. That's not going to happen. From the data that I've seen, that I've read, that has been handed down to me or to us as a team from, people in the Tom Ferry ecosystem that we're a part of, the analysts that Tom Ferry and his team themselves lean into to get the data from, are saying that, the market isn't going to crash. We're going to see a great market probably through 2023, 2024. Like, it's not just going to tank like it did in 2008. The whole setup is different. This market is based off of supply and demand versus, way back when. Last time it crashed was based off of badly unsecured mortgages. So we're not going to crash. We're going to stay really strong, I think, for the next, 18 months, 2 years. What does that necessarily mean for buyers with more homes coming on the market? They don't need to be as picky.
Okay.
They don't have to be paying $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 over asking price. They don't need to be waiving appraisals and waiving inspections and, giving them their firstborn child to get the house, because there's going to be more options. So what does that mean for buyers? More options means they don't have to take an overpriced property. They can wait a little bit. And for sellers, that also means you can't just sell a property that looks terrible.
I was going to say that was going to be my next question. So buyers are going to start seeing more choices.
Yep.
They're going to start seeing where they're not going to have to, like you said, like sell their firstborn child. Mm-hmm. They can, kind of go back to maybe a little more what they had in mind as far as negotiations go.
Yeah.
What are you going to say? Because I've had people say like, oh, I'm just going to put my house on the market for $500,000, even though, you're saying it's $425. And somebody will come and pay it. Like, what do you say to the people who are, trying to say things like that?
Yeah. In a market that is so demand depleted right now, or so supply depleted, they're right. They are putting homes 50, 60, 100,000 over market value out there because their mindset is, if I'm the only house that's for sale, somebody who's desperate for a house will buy it. Well, that is true. But we also have to remember we're not getting as many cash deals as we were, back last year and the start of this year. More deals are being financed. We're not seeing, the 20 plus offers that agents were receiving on properties. That's slowed down now, again, because there's more homes on the market now. So these homeowners that are like, well, there's only 5 homes for sale within a mile of me, so I'm going to go over list them and do 100,000 over its true value. Well, buyers will just wait now. And quite honestly, even if they do write an offer for that $500,000 home, you've still got an appraisal involved.
Okay.
If it's a finance deal, which again, a vast percentage are, there's still appraisers involved who will bring the property back down to its true value. So I often just say to sellers, listen, if that's your emotional value and that's what you think it's worth, then fine. But just be prepared that the buyer will only pay what they think it's worth. The appraiser will certainly tell you what the bank thinks it's worth.
Okay.
You just have to be prepared that 2 people's opinions may be different to yours. And if you're okay with that, let's go. If you're not, then you may want to wait a little while and see where the market takes us. But quite honestly, overpriced, you'll just be the only house on the street that doesn't sell. Okay.
So really then for sellers, what they should do is consult a real estate expert in their area, get an accurate market value, price it right at value, and we're going to need to get out of the mindset of I'm going to get, cash offers for $50,000 over and I'm not going to have to do anything. They're going to waive appraisals and kind of temper our expectations a little bit.
Yeah, no, exactly. And, sellers are in a great position. We've got this really well appreciated market, not just in Arizona, but nationally. We're looking at 17.4% nationally for appreciation, which is phenomenal. Just in the mountain region of the US, which we are a part of, we're at 22.9% appreciation. And as I said, Arizona was around about 17.9 just as appreciation itself. And in Phoenix is one of the top appreciated cities in the US at nearly 30% appreciation.
Hey everyone, we want to interrupt this episode to let you know that we are a Keller Williams Southern Arizona franchise.
Also, we are licensed realtors practicing equal housing.
Now, let's get you back to the podcast.
Phoenix went a little crazy this past year.
Phoenix definitely did something that none of us else have done. They've gone up bananas. So it's important to remind sellers, or just even homeowners in general, not just people looking to sell, but homeowners in general, of like, when was the last time you looked at the value of your home? People will buy a home and then just live in it and kind of forget that it's an asset that can make them money.
I think that's a very fair statement.
It's just a roof over their head. It's the 4 walls. It's the kids' bedrooms and the pool, right? They don't think of it of like, wow, my home is making me money while I'm living here. So I think it's super important that if you are a homeowner, even if you're not looking to sell, is to connect with a realtor who can look at the data, give you an up-to-date value of that home. Because if you've owned your home 3 to 4 to 5 years, you've been paying down your mortgage, and your home is appreciated by, let's say, even in this instance, 20% of where you bought it from, that's money that's sat there that you could potentially do something with. You could pull that money out, you could remodel, you could do some upgrades, you could go on a vacation, because nobody's been on those for 18 months.
That's true. And so if somebody is curious about the value of their home, we obviously are based in Tucson, but if you need help finding the value of your home, you can certainly reach out to us. We have, like you said, part of the Tom Ferry ecosystem. We have agents that we can connect you with all over the country, help you find an accurate assessment of your house. So I'm hearing it's a great market for sellers.
Yep.
They're going to get top dollar for their house. They're going to find out probably a surprising amount of equity they have in their home. And it's also still a great market for buyers because the craziness is dying down a little bit. You've got some more options coming on the market.
Yep.
And with the prediction from many economists that the market's going to continue to go up, to increase, you're going to purchase a house, and next year you're going to have a little equity in that house.
That's a huge point. Like if they buy now and we're seeing that the market's still going to be strong or held strong for the next 18 months, they could get in and ride that equity wave too, which means in 2 years they could have a good chunk of equity in their home as well.
Right. And I'm looking here, it's an average of 5% increase, but we're, seeing predictions anywhere between 4.5% and 8.5%, kind of depending on where you are. So it is still a good time to be a buyer.
Absolutely. It really is. And the appreciation isn't just in a certain classification. We're seeing appreciation in luxury properties. We're seeing appreciation in investment properties. We're seeing it in commercial properties. We're seeing it in the low income, the middle of the road, and the luxury. It's across the board. This isn't just a wave of if you make X and you can afford to buy a house for Y, like that's what's appreciating. It's appreciating all over the place.
Yeah, this is not just a little niche of the market. This is everything.
And I'm seeing luxury properties coming on the market and selling quicker than I've ever known a luxury property to sell. Properties over $1 million in Tucson, for instance, are very few and far between. Especially as we have an average sales price of like 303 or something like that, or an average market value of 303. So $1 million property is very few and far between, unlike, if you lived in Huntington Beach or something like that. So when we have $1 million properties, they can sit on the market for 6 to 8 months before we find $1 million buyer looking to buy, especially here. $1 million properties are on the market for like a week to 2 to 3 before they're sold, which is just bananas, So again, that appreciation, and the market is moving in all classifications. So it's just I honestly think we are very blessed as agents to be in such a phenomenal market for both sellers and buyers. We just have to educate people as, again, like I said, your home is something that's making you money. Like, why haven't you checked in on that?
Right.
Like, let's be honest, if you put $100 into a savings account, you'd probably check that savings account regularly to be like, how much have I got?
Check it out,
$101, woohoo, I made $1. Nobody thinks about doing that with their home.
No, I think that's a great point. Everybody thinks like, this is the house that I live in. It's, I need it. It has to be taken, just the day to day, not so much what it's doing for you long term.
They only think of the value if they ever think of selling. And then it's a case of, well, how much is it worth? I advise my clients, we should check in every 12 months because there may be a super peak in your area that if you have thought about selling, that might be the time.
Yeah, you want to be able to capitalize on that.
Absolutely. Yeah, so great market. Appreciation is skyrocketing. And again, like we mentioned, the people that we listen to think it's going to be around for about 18 months. So if people do want to know their value, they can call us, they can text us, they can email us. We're actually going to put a link to the data that we have and the numbers. We're going to put that, there'd be a link for that in the podcast too. So you can click on that and go check it out for yourself, and so you can see where we're getting our info and data from. Perfect.
Sounds great. Well, thanks for coming on today and chatting with me about the market, and we'll see you all next time.
Hey, thank you for listening and watching the Nitty Gritty podcast here with the Tom J. Krieger team. If you are thinking about buying a home, selling a home, or even investing in real estate, please reach out to us. We are local here in Tucson, Arizona, but we are also connected to over 4,000 agents across the US. So again, looking to buy, sell, or invest in your hometown, reach out to us and let us connect you.